day, hot and humid and all that. Looks like from the weather, we're going to escape some of that, but it's a transition month. It certainly has been for me. The last 2 days I've spent out in my garden pulling out summer plants, dead tomatoes and squash plants that are just doing nothing but going to compost. So I've certainly been engaged in that. And then also planting fall crops. For those of you who are somewhat new to Dallas, it's hard you may not know that we can garden almost year round here. It takes a little management, but you can do it. The easy part is kind of in the spring and the early summer, and everything seems to be turned over to okra about July. And then those of us who are into fall stuff, you can really plant tomatoes and all of that before you get into the more cruciferous things like cabbage and cauliflower and so forth. So our partnership with the Dallas Library has been really wonderful this year. And they've been really a great partner in teamwork. I work for the Office of Environmental Quality and Sustainability, which I can hardly pronounce. It's one of the 70 departments and divisions in the city of Dallas. And we focus on all things environmental, primarily a lot of regulations, stormwater. Some of you are probably familiar with Shingle Mountain. We were certainly still are involved in that. But we are taking a more positive view in things like air quality and green living, zero waste, and so forth, and trying to build that case for a better environment here. Our first speaker will be Gladys Macias. Gladys is a graduate of Samuel High, where a friend of mine used to teach, and had a lot of interesting stories about that I won't get into. And then she went to Eastfield College, which a lot of people are doing these days because their program is so inviting. And she completed an associate's science in biology. And then she left there and went to University of North Texas, which has a growing agriculture program, but she went there aspiring to be an orthodontist. And her direction changed when she ran to Jared Tynes, who is a lecturer in urban ag and a member of our stakeholder group that we talk on Thursday. He's quite enthusiastic about urban ag, and she natural research and sustainable livestock and poultry management. That's a whole mouthful there. And while doing all kinds of community projects, she got introduced to Jerry Strong. And Jerry is a soon-to-be former City Dallas employee who's worked in the sanitation department. And she is in charge of a project with Grow North Texas with food forests. It's a concept that we haven't explored here in Dallas, but she's leading the way on and has involved a lot of people. So also in today's program, Crowded Menu, is Owen Lynch, who is just a ball of fire when it comes to lots of things, agriculture, and has a really good intellectual handle and practical handle on urban agriculture. He holds a senior research fellow and director of community research at the Hunt Institute, which is, some of you may know, is within the Lyle School of Engineering. And he's been very involved in fresh food access and food justice here in Dallas, and one of the early leaders in the restorative farms. He's still active in that. He's got his bachelor's in communication from University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and a master and PhD in organizational communication from Texas A&M. His research interests, thank goodness, involve organizations and communities through everyday discourse and routines of its members. His own research has been published in competitive venues, and it's a long list. So I welcome you to all of you speakers for today. Gladys and Owen, glad to see you to the virtual podium. Take it over.
Okay, Vanessa, we said I'm going first, right?
Yes, thank you, Gladys.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I see Jerry just joined. Helen, hi, everybody. I haven't met everybody in person, unfortunately, but I'm glad to see y'all here today. Let me go ahead and share my screen and then let me know if everything's looking okay here. And let me go ahead and click send. Okay, you can still see me, right?
Yes, we're doing
Yes.
fine.
Okay, great. Well, yes, thank you for the introduction. My name is Gladys Macias, and I am a student at UNT Dallas. This would be my last semester, fall 2021. I started in 2018, and like Bob said, I aspired to be an orthodontist when I first started, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. Thank you for inviting me today to speak. Here's my email if anybody wants to reach out after any of this. So it'll be right there. And I'll add it to the chat if anybody needs it. But yes, let me get started. Just where I started and where I am now. So yes, I graduated from Samuel High School and Eastfield the same year. So I was in a dual credit and early college high school. So um, so yeah, I just took all my basics at Eastfield and going to Samuel High School. It has a certain rep, and but I was really blessed to be able to enroll into the early college high school program. And so I graduated, everything went fine, and I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. And it was nice to meet people at Eastfield who, were already graduated and had moved on, and they would give us advice and tips on what to do in college and what kind of clubs to join and all that. So, but I once I enrolled at UNT Dallas in the fall, my plans and me and my parents' plans was for me to become an orthodontist and go to dental school, and so that was kind of my career goal, you could say. I wasn't super sure, and I was still having my doubts. So actually, when I started, I was really excited and nervous at the same time, and I started my core science classes, and I love science, but it was just a struggle kind of in specific classes like cell biology, microbiology, human anatomy, those kinds of classes where um, it's really, it's hardcore and you have to learn so much, and that's for any class, but it's just the curriculum is extensive and there's just so much to um to discuss, and so I had a tough time. I passed most of my classes, but I like it was barely me getting by, and so I enrolled in elective courses that were required for my degree, and so this was in fall 2019 when I started my animal nutrition and community gardening class, and I was super excited because I had heard good things about Professor Tynes. So I'll move to the next slide to where I met him and joined his classes, and I was super excited because I love being outdoors, and my family's always loved gardening. My mom has a green thumb, so um, she was excited for me to join and let her know what I was doing in my classes and give her tips for gardening and all that. And she was just excited to see me venture out into something that wasn't stressing me out, something that could be fun, and because she knew I was kind of having a rough time with my core science classes. So uh Professor Tynes is like Bob said, the lecturer of urban agriculture and renewable resources program, and his wife is actually a advisor at UNT Dallas, and she became my advisor um, in 2019, and that's when they brought the BAAS in urban agriculture and renewable resources. And Professor Tynes, I was actually asking for a letter of recommendation from him because I wanted to work at the on campus. So then um, he was like, "Hey, have you considered, changing your degree?" Because he noticed that I was really enthusiastic about um, the gardening and the animal nutrition class. I was always raising my hand, so I think he noticed that I was pretty interested, and I was really happy that he let me know about this degree that they provide at UNT Dallas that I didn't know about at all. Um, no one really told me about that, and especially because it was a newer program. But at Samuel High School, they really only gave us a few options. They never really talked about agriculture, and the closest class that I had to an urban agriculture class or anything to do with plants was like geography. Um, so I really enjoyed meeting Professor Tynes and getting to know more about the program. So I decided to switch my major, my degree plan. And so now I'm expected to graduate fall 2021. That's hopefully next semester goes well and everything goes fine. Then I would be graduating fall 2021, December. And I would, with the classes, I've taken so many classes with Professor Tyne. So with the classes that I've taken, I would get a certification in natural resource management, sustainable livestock and poultry management, and urban farming and gardening. So those classes have been amazing. I've taken greenhouse management. What are the classes? Animal nutrition and community gardening. I will be taking soil science, so I'll learn more about the soil and how to, create good soil, not just have dirt or just to make um, the soil a good place for plants to grow. And so these pictures here are of us actually participating at the St. Vince de Paul church community garden. And so the church is actually behind the community garden, and this is like right on that street. I believe this is still Lancaster area here, and you can see my fellow students here. We had so much fun going. We would try to go every week, once a week, unless the weather was really bad, and we did have some rainy days, so we couldn't go. But the plants enjoyed that rainy weather, and I met a lot of friends, and I really felt that community aspect of gardening and just learning from one another and hearing what other um, people's experiences was with their home gardens or starting a garden. And I haven't had a chance to start my own garden yet. I'm moving into a new house in a few months, so hopefully I can start my garden there. And my mom has a really tiny space for gardening, but she's really excited about helping me at my garden. So hopefully I'll get to use my knowledge there at my garden. And I still go visit the St. Vincent de Paul garden once in a while. I haven't been, but I do try to go when I'm in the area. So if you want to drop by and see how it's doing, go ahead and do that. Oh, okay. And down here, so I took my capstone course with Professor Tynes, and that's pretty much where you try to do some work outside of school. And he introduced me to Jerry Strong. Hi, Jerry, and the Food Forest Project. So I was started as her intern. I'm still an intern with her, but it's just been amazing. So I met Jerry, and right off the bat, I just got really great vibes, and I knew that it was going to be a fun project. And so this project is sponsored by Grow North Texas, and um, it is it was started by Jerry and Susie Marshall from Grow North Texas, executive director. So she is also someone I work with. She actually offered me a position as a project coordinator for North Texas Farm Success. So I'm working with Jerry and Susie now, and I've been working with Susie since May, and so with Jerry since January, and it's so exciting to work with them both. They're amazing people, and they've introduced me to so many people and projects. And um, so let me just kind of talk about how I felt through this whole journey. Um, so I live in Pleasant Grove, and we don't have many people who talk about urban agriculture, and I'm just so excited to be able to share what I've been learning with my sister, who's thinking about getting back in college, and she's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, if you like plants and you want to help out with the food, insecurity and food deserts, because I think we live close to many food deserts. I haven't um, checked out my specific area, but I know that Susie's mentioned that around here in Pleasant Grove and South Dallas, East Dallas, there's just food deserts everywhere, and people need, they need access to healthy foods, and even having that food available, we need to put in place educational opportunities for people to learn um, ways to eat, you know, in a healthier way, to reach out into healthier recipes. So I've learned a lot about that. I've gone to Bonton Farms many times with Jerry, and it's just been amazing seeing what they're doing there, and seeing people from the community eat there and buy produce and buy coffee with like goat's milk. I've never had goat's milk before, and it was amazing. It was really good. So just things like that you don't get to experience, or no one reaches out to you. And I'm very grateful for Professor Tynes for introducing me to Jerry, and then Jerry introducing me to Susie. So it just keeps going, and I'm um very excited to help out with the Food Forest Project. Right now we're still reaching out to the communities where we're thinking about having our sites. And so these would be South Dallas areas, and there's churches, and there's recreation centers, learning centers, schools, barbershops, beauty salons. And we really just want to reach out to those students who students and people of all ages, really. But I think it's important to become aware of these things early on, so that you can adjust your educational choices to that, so that you can you know maybe do something like me, where you're going to school and you're still learning, and you can apply that to an internship. So internships too. I never thought I would be in an internship like this. I honestly thought I would be like shadowing a dentist or something like that right now. But I'm so blessed, and I'd rather be doing this way more than anything. Um, and so I would like to not only work with the food forest to provide food for people, and so that they can harvest healthy local food, but also work with schools, and work with children, and work with teenagers and young adults who um, maybe don't have the same great opportunities that I've had, so that they can have that, and venture out and learn that there is so much out there that they tell us to be lawyers or doctors, or if you're not that, then you can't be anybody in the world. But I feel like somebody. I feel like I'm doing something good for the planet, and that's really what I want to do. I have 2 kids, and I want to be able to make the world someplace that they can provide for themselves, learn how to garden, and I want to learn how to provide for myself, how to grow my own food. Um, like I said, I plan to do that when I get my own little place, and just grow some things, and just experiment, and apply what I've learned, and sit there and teach my kids how to prepare the soil and pot some peppers and stuff like that, and then put it in the ground and watch it grow, and fruit trees and all that. So I'm really grateful for Jerry and everyone that we've worked with, the Valley Foundation. Those guys are amazing, EJ and Shannon. If you've never heard of them, I was gonna send them this link, and something happened and I couldn't get it to them, but they're amazing too. So I'm just meeting people from like all over the world, people who are older than me, people who are younger than me, and I really want a lot of people who are younger than me to get that exposure from an early age, and not just like have it pass them by, those opportunities, so that they can um, take advantage of them. So like I said, like I put here, opportunities to network with other related nonprofits. So right now, like I said, I'm working with with the North Texas Farm Success, and so that's another nonprofit. She works at, we work at a at a church, Owenwood Church down here near Pleasant Grove, and they do diaper distribution. They have a community garden, and then there's the Owenwood Farm. So I would have never known about that being so close to me if I hadn't met Jerry, if I hadn't met Susie. So, it's just something that's so close yet so far away for some of us. And just being in an environment now where I can share that information with others is amazing. So I shared this event on my Facebook, on my Instagram. So I really want other young people to have these opportunities, like I've said before. Learn about food production and communicating with experts about food insecurity, food deserts. And there's just so much social, economic, political, and of course, environmental aspects that go into all these issues, I guess you could say, challenges, obstacles that we're facing. Um, and I think we all know that there's I guess a problem with the way the system works. If we're gonna be honest, there's a lot of challenges, and so um, I think it's important to recognize that and to share that information and just be honest with people and be honest with not only farmers and share their what's going on in their farms, but with people who are consuming the food. And so yeah, so I've gotten so much exposure to the inside so that I can share it to the outside. So to consumers, so to my parents, to my neighbors, to my in-laws, to people who go to school with me, to friends I met at the garden, and we still keep in touch, and I still let them know what's going on with me, and so then they tell me about them, and everything really connects. So I've been working with Jerry on the food forest, and I also work with Susie, and everything that I'm learning, how to market a farm, how to soil preparation for people who are beginning farming, that connects to what I'm doing at my house, and then also to when we start the implementing the food forest, how to prepare that soil that's here in Dallas so that it can flourish and it can thrive with the trees and plants that we grow. So I'm really truly blessed, and I just want to keep sharing the information. I think that's the best that we can do, is share our knowledge um so that the future generations can provide for themselves and for their children, and just take care of the planet really, and feed ourselves in a sustainable way. So I think that's it from me. If y'all have any questions later, um, or right now, I'm happy to answer them, but I hope I did an okay job at presenting.
Oh, yes, you did an amazing job, Gladys. There's a comment of thank you for sharing your story. So yes, thank you so much. We're going to turn it over to Owen and let him tell us a little bit about what he does. And then we'll open it up for questions. All right, so take it away, Owen.
I'll stop sharing my screen real quick.
I think I'm connected. Is that right?
Looks good.
Okay, good, perfect. Well, that's there's an impossible act to follow, and I'll be really quick. It was really gratifying to hear Gladys and her passions and the future generation. I think she's right that it is going to be. This has been a long time coming. The current situation in Dallas and all over the country in terms of the environmental cost of our current food systems and the social cost of our current food systems. And I really am gratified to hear how many young people, my own students and people I meet in the community, the next generation, are interested in addressing that in a meaningful way. In simple terms, and I'll be very brief so we can have more time for questions. And we started Restorative Farms about 4 years ago. Tyrone Day, my partner, and Brad Boa, and now we've had many other people join the mission. And our goal is to help grow a better Dallas. And by that, we're trying to create viable and self-sustaining, resilient local agricultural economy. We're a nonprofit farm moving towards self-sustainable viability through production and coordinating and distribution of food from several different farms. All of the money that is generated from our project is reinvested back in the system and the only people who receive economic benefit are the people who actually grow the product in South Dallas. All of our current growers are all from South Dallas. So that's part of our process and mission. This is our the real hero, and I try not to be out in front. It is Tyrone Day, who won the D Magazine Hero last year. And I think Tyrone's quote at the top here, if you can read it, mine's blocked by the bar, I'm trying to remove it, is basically, he says, I understand that people need employment. I understand that people need a second chance. I want to create a bigger hub. I want to create more farms. I want to create more sustainable, viable gardens. I want to create more jobs. I want to create healthy lives and balance. And that is my mission. And when I met Tyrone, it was after a long process of working in this area, but he seemed so genuine in his concern and desire to use his horticultural degree that he received while he was wrongfully convicted. He was in prison for 25 years, and he's working on the Innocence Project right now to have that injustice addressed. But to come out of his situation and with a serving heart and wanting to take his knowledge and serve his own community, that was really the thing that kind of re-rallied my focus back in trying to help to create a more viable economic system based on research from other communities and what also works locally in the community of Dallas. Ultimately, as many research articles look at, is the two most viable models of production, if that's your goal, in self-sustainability, are people growing in their own home for themselves and their own families. In America, prior to the World War II and just through World War II, 40% of all Americans' vegetables came from their own backyards. We've lost that skill set. This is particularly true in Dallas, it seems. I grew up in North London. When I went to school as a young boy, there was an edible forest people harvested from in South London that people would do, but there was also victory gardens in almost every block in the bombed out buildings from World War II that have all obviously been now taken over by construction. But so I got a real sense of how you can have growing and living in an urban center quite close to each other, but recognize for a viable system, it's a lot more difficult than just growing. It has to become balanced in terms of how we do this. So one of the things we did in 2020, launching in March, just as COVID started, which was hubris at best, but we're pushing further our MLK seedling farm, which is housed in the community center in South Dallas so that it's accessible to the community. We produce about 40 to 60,000 seedlings a year. We've got 9,000 in there right now, growing for fall, as Bob was mentioning earlier. We coordinate multiple gardens and supply multiple gardens in the communities, and individuals can come and get products. Stuff that you buy in many of the Home Depots, et cetera, don't focus on the varieties that have been proven to grow well in this region. And they also pump their plants up with hormones so they can transplant and move quickly, but they're not guaranteed to live very well or grow very productively for you in this soil or in this climate. So we try to alleviate that barrier. Also, we can help you by reducing the price. We're about 1/4 of the price of a Home Depot. And if you're living, especially if you live in South Dallas or a food desert community, we certainly are more than happy to help you as much as possible. Have access to varieties of plants that will work best for you, and you can plan your garden out. A garden takes 6 months to think about and plan, and its food is perishable in 2 to 3 days after it's harvested. So the planning, the better you plan your garden, the better your garden can produce, and you can utilize that production effectively. We also then created this a company during COVID to help keep people employed during COVID and help people growing in their backyards. And this is our Grow Box program. We manufacture these in South Dallas, creating jobs, once again, reinvesting back into the community. I'm glad to say that that has been really successful. And we've actually launched these across the nation using Tito's as a sponsor. And we can deliver, or you can come pick up a Grow Box and be growing in your backyard in hours. And you'll also get seasonal pack of plants that are available to you that we are well suited for the type of soil and the type of region that you grow in. And the soil has been researched by us and by Texas A&M AgriLife Texas AgriLife said they've found no better way of growing in an urban environment than utilizing the soil mix and grow box process that we have, and had incredible results from that. And so those, I'm happy to help in interest of people that want to grow better. That's a really accessible tool that's available for backyards or even linking together. We just put 68 of them into Austin Street Shelter. We're talking to and some other schools. We're working with partners who do that work, and they've had great success. We also piloted a program in 2020 delivering CSAs. We expanded it to 75 CSAs a week, 33 to a corporate sponsor and 42 to the community at a subsidized rate. So we take in our corporate sponsors buy bags for their own part for themselves, and also then we use some of the money from that to then buy bags of vegetables from the community, which we ourselves produce, but also buy from local growers. So we have a 2-for-1. People get access to fresh, healthy food, and they also pay local growers for their production as long as they can produce at quality and at quantity, and when and also to hit the market schedule. So we're also teaching growing towards the market, which is very, very difficult to do. It's the major hurdle block for a viable system. You need scale production, you need consistency, you need reliability, and you need predictability. And you need to be able to grow multiple things until you have a robust system. And you need to have all of those, and you need to be able to grow when you say you're going to have it delivered for customers. And so those are the challenges we're trying, and by creating this market outlet for it, we can test the viabilities of systems. And then with Tito's Vodka, we launched through that block to block program, we sent our grow boxes nationally. Multiple grow systems are using our grow boxes and have found them to be extremely effective for small growing. We also launched a hydroponic farm next to State Fair of Texas. Obviously, State Fair of Texas produces more food for the community than all the other farms combined. They just went over 1 million servings to the community of fresh grown vegetables. And we're utilizing some of their local expertise as we test this new platform. Recent research from North Carolina State found that there was not one small hydroponic grow center that got a return on investment. In other words, they cost much more money to produce the food than actually the food is valued at. So how can we're using Growzilla to test if we can viably launch controlled environment agriculture within a city environment and make the learning process where it's accessible to people so that they can learn and grow themselves. And if we can prove to do this, it's been extremely productive. But if we can help crack the code on this, we can launch these throughout the city of Dallas with using local growers. And we're starting an apprentice program towards that end this year. This is, you can see 1 week's harvest, which goes out to our CSA, which you can see there at 614, but then also goes to feed food programs. We don't actually give out a lot of free food from our farms. We give it to people who are professionals at giving free food away, because they know exactly who to give it to and how to have the most impact. And that's not our area of specialty. But we do about 100 to 300 pounds of food a week. That is our extra food left over after we satisfy our local customer demands. Here's Hatcher Training Station Farm. If anyone's been to South Dallas and goes to Hatcher Station, just up on the left of Hatcher Station, we received a plot of land there, which is about 1/4 of an acre. We've expanded that now to have almost a full acre of growing space. In fall, in September, we're building an apprentice farm for people who graduate our program, and then they can go on and become apprentices, and everything that they'll need to become young, successful farmers by themselves will be there. We'll buy their product from them to help them becoming economically sustainable, build a training model for them so that they can show their work, but then also they can show that their work is producing market value so that they can get venture capital or economic development funds to build their own farm. It's kind of like a franchise model to reduce their cost and risk. And these are some of our growers being trained by Tyrone and harvesting. And you can see some of our grow boxes there, which is our model grow box garden to do training in the community, which when COVID lifts, we'll be able to do much more of them, and looking forward to being able to do that. Here are some of the products from our local farmers. We obviously have a washing station too at Hatcher. On the bottom, you see Robbie Frazier. Robbie Frazier is our community coordinator and sales. She does a fantastic job of getting out and meeting community members and getting them energized about the possibilities of local and healthy grown food. And we hit about 10 to 20 households a week asking them how we can best grow for them, what they're currently interested in. Do they want to learn how to grow themselves? They want to have access to healthy foods. And we're selling bags of vegetables for $5 a week to them and delivering them directly to their homes. And if you see on the right-hand picture there, you see the sorting. What you really should see there is more important. You should see the creation of local jobs. So each one of those farmers and training farmers is being trained, but also being paid over a living wage to work and to learn how to become urban farmers using spin technology and other forms of techniques. These are samples of our CSAs that went out last week, all products locally grown in Dallas County. And we received from grants, we're able to subsidize those values. And then we also manage farms or gardens for other organizations and groups. What we found is that, as Johns Hopkins studies finds, that 80 to 90% of community gardens and project gardens fail within the first 2 years because they don't have the access and support of a local professional growers who can help them, supply them with what they need to grow more effectively and at a cheaper rate, and simultaneously, and all that planning that's involved in that. And then simultaneously, the most important thing to make a garden grow is the shadow of the farmer. You need to have somebody who is the champion of the garden, and research definitely shows this, that will basically be in charge of making sure the garden works. In this garden here, for example, we're using a Netafim system, which is state-of-the-art irrigation system to save water. And then we're supplying all the product to grow in there. We do the work of growing it. But then members of the community, from clients from the Austin Street Shelter, they manage the garden. They use it for horticultural therapy. They feed themselves from that kitchen. This garden is so productive, it actually has a positive return on investment. So that they pay for one of our farmers trainees to get hours to work there and maintain it, doing all the hard work, the weeding, getting out there 180 degrees in Dallas. Today, not so hot, but getting out there and doing that work so that then the community members can utilize the garden for the harvesting, the enjoyment of it, the horticultural therapy, and that they have so they work together in tandem. Just a quick, we did 93 different varieties of products. Until Dallas has about 7 more farms, it's going to be impossible to specialize. In fact, what they find is the worst measure for urban farming is your metric, how much farm you grow for a year, because it's an irrelevant number in terms of creating a viable system. It's actually how many varieties you grow and how consistently you grow them and how you stagger these varieties over seasons to have multiple varieties present simultaneously. That's what the research shows, and that's currently what we found as well in our own practice, running the 3 farms that we run, soon to be 4 farms that we run with community community employees. So we did 93 different varieties of products, of 94 for the seasons. Basically, each CSA season for each recipient received about 100 pounds roughly of vegetables for the season. Each week, roughly about 6.5 to 7 pounds of product. But the more importantly was the nutritional value of the local product and the variety in which they received. The corporate members paid $35 a week. The community members that were donated cost them, those costs were zero, but they paid $5 that went directly to this person who delivered it to them. So their subscription price was $70. The total value of subscription and retail value was $780. The average retail value is $55.70. We're going to obviously increase that next season as we expand to 100. Our goal is to get to plus 200 a week for 42 weeks a year by the end of 2023. Total seasons, obviously, we did 75 a week. That's 1,050 CSAs, 7,000 pounds of produce with the retail value of $58,000. All of it, which was reinvested back to the farmers. If you look at the top there, you can see all the farms that supplied us from the local community and got paid over farmers market rates. So that was beneficial for them. And the transaction cost for them was much less. So they could just come, deliver 100 products, sell them all at farmers market value. And then they could go on their day and be with their families without tying up their time resource. We also did a Cornerstone After School program, which actually is studying the nutritional value and changes in diet of local community members based on the CSA production. Once again, having partners like them who are able to do that work so we can focus on what we're doing is really, really valuable. We've donated 631 CSAs last season, about $35,000 worth of vegetables. And on the bottom here, you can see all the different varieties which we grew in Dallas County, as well as some of the food entrepreneurs we supported through the retail value of this product. But we grew broccoli, broccolini, cauliflower, cucumber, all these lovely vegetables, and lots of greens. We focused a lot on Asian greens and collards and cabbage because they have a higher nutritional value. We're working next year with some historic Black universities and colleges to work on quinoa local production through hydroponic and soil, both for the protein, but also for the nutritional value of their green, which is higher than that of spinach. And we also did a cooking program. So this is basically our plan. We have our systems input barriers that we are addressing one at a time. Each place where there's a restorative farms means we've established it and working with partners to establish it. We then have our production plan, which is the Grow Box program, the Hatcher's Train and Station Farm, the hydroponic growing. We're about to increase that and put an apprentice farm in phase 3. We then have the multiple food system processes that we use to do vocational training, and the franchise farm model, which will expand out. And then we're looking for places for market support to make sure that they're community viable. And then at some point, my goal is obviously for myself, I'm the least important person in this system, as a systems theorist, but my goal would be to, this becomes economically viable so that I can turn this project over fully to my partners in the community, and the system is working based on just their production alone and their coordination, which they're all taken care of. And so that would be my goal. SMU does not pay me for this work, and they're not happy with that I'm doing and spending all this time on it, because I'm losing other contracts for them, but so it goes. And then, and so these are all of our current sponsors. Obviously, we couldn't do this work without their support. SMU was very supportive of my work. I'm sorry, I'm just being flippant, but it's not what my primary role is. It's taking a lot of, so they'll be happy when I can roll this project back over to the community. But these are our community partners who've been in different aspects of this project, made this project possible. Obviously, we were luckily and really humbled by the fact that we won Foodscape Innovation Award last year during COVID for our ability to pivot. And then this was Hatcher the moment after the big freeze. As you can see, every single plant at Hatcher, we've obviously expanded Hatcher massively since this point, but every single plant we had in the ground died. Every single one, obviously in the Great Freeze. The next day, we started 8,000 seedlings and not only supplied our own farm, but also helped about 4 other farmers come back up who would have lost their farms due to the freeze and their whole entire spring. Without spring being viable, we would have lost our ability to being close to economically viable, which really hits at this point of why you need a system perspective so that you have the ability to be able to spring back and help each other out through collaboration. So that's probably more time than I should have, but that's pretty much where we are today. I couldn't see your questions, but I'll answer them as they come in.
All right, thank you so much, Owen. Real quick, I'm going to show a short video from the Dallas College. They also have an urban agricultural program that they just started, and they do in cooperation with Texas A&M Commerce. They weren't able to be here today. Their faculty member is starting, I think today is their first day, so let me go ahead and show a quick video real quick, and then we'll get to the questions. Let's see here. All right. Apologies here. Let me try this one more time. Forgot to do it with the sound, which wouldn't be much of a video without the sound. All right.
One of the best parts of living in a city is how often you are presented with opportunity, not only to see new places and meet new people, but to try new things and new ways of thinking. A city makes it possible to combine human and natural resources to create a sustainable and local food system, build community strength, and provide economic growth. Using innovative technology to maximize crop production in small spaces is just one way that urban agriculture creates a more sustainable food system, which increases access to healthy foods and conserves our natural resources. To learn more about urban agriculture at DCCCD, please visit our website.
All right, and I'm going to drop some links into their program into the chat as well for y'all. So yeah, we have questions for, I know someone asked what a CSA was. It was the most recent question I saw pop in there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I answered it on the message board. It's a catch-all phrase for community supported agriculture, but basically it's a vehicle to sell product direct from farm or farms to the consumer and to capture all those costs. And it really helps farmers out. Some people do it as a share system, which has been really productive. Community gardens that use it as a community share system has been really productive. And so that's what a CSA is.
And then someone was asking how their community garden could get seedlings from MLK Seedling Farm.
They could just email me. We have a website where we'll have suggested packs, but actually if you email me, I'm happy to find out what your plan and grow needs are, and I can cater a pickup and production for you. We're lucky now, we are now 7 weeks away from planting for fall, so we can help you. If you start now, we can really help you. But yeah, just email me at olynch@smu.edu. You could also email Robbie and Tyrone, who are in the community constantly. But if you connect to me, I'll pass it on to them, and they'll take it from there.
Let's see. Anybody have any questions? Please put them in the chat. I know, just get y'all's opinions on this. As I know Gladys touched on, she didn't really know about the urban agricultural opportunities when she was in high school. Do you see like a trend towards more high schools providing urban ag education? Do you think it's a direction that they need to go? I know DIC, I think, offers some urban ag classes, but not a whole lot. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, my sister's out of high school, and my other sister's in middle school, so I'll see what kind of classes they're like offering them in middle school, even as early as middle school. I really don't know outside of my own high school what kind of programs they're providing. I know I learned about it till UNT Dallas. So, but I'm sure there should be some kind of curriculum for that. And if there's not, there should be, definitely, because there's so much like space here and in the schools that are near me that are just like empty, no trees or anything, just grass, right? And I'm like, that would be a perfect place to put a little garden for the kids to go out and learn how to grow food, grow fruits and vegetables and all that. But I really do hope that that we can provide some guidance towards that. And I'm still learning. Like I can't recognize what kind of tree a tree is just by looking at it, like people who have been doing this for years can. But hopefully I can share what I learn and with people that I come across with. But there's definitely I think a need for more of that introduction way earlier than college. I think that's just a skill that, like Owen said, needs to be brought back, because I really didn't see any of that until college. I knew there was farms and community gardens, but there was never a community garden anywhere near me. And I live so close to Hatcher Station, and I didn't know about it until I met Jerry, and we went down there and talked to Tyrone. We talked to him and to Brad Boa too, and we visited the MLK ceiling farm. And I'm just thinking, like, this is so close to me. I was telling Jerry, like, this is like, I live like 5 minutes away from here. So I think that Owen and everybody at Restorative Farms is doing a great job, and in helping people with training and all that. I think it's great. Like, I'm getting paid in my internship. I'm getting paid as a project coordinator for Farm Success, and it's provided so many opportunities for me, and I can help my husband out now with things, and I have a little extra income, and we're able to get our house. So I think just that education that can start from so early on can open so many doors for everybody, really. So I really do hope that people in the school districts, like Professor Tynes, introducing programs like this to to young people. Nedra said DISD offers career days throughout the school year. It would be great to start to educate and inform kids about urban agriculture. Yeah, totally. So
Yeah, and I think you mentioned about you seeing. I do the same thing. I see places for gardens everywhere. I think the more you become a gardener, the more you see, hey, that would be a great place for a garden. So yeah, I think school gardens are a great way to get kids into. I know there's a lot of great people doing stuff in school gardens too. So volunteering, for people out there who are wanting to get into the urban ag or gardening, I think volunteering at a school garden or a community garden is probably a great way for them to get into that.
One thing on I think that and I think Laura's hit this perfectly, but there's a good model, for example, supporting people who are doing it well, like Alindra Lyons is doing a fantastic job in Fraser, are doing a job. Solar Prep just put in a great garden. They've got a really good system designed around how to care for it and who's going to manage it. So there are people out there who are doing this really well and are making sure that when people put these gardens in, they've got the support network to make sure they're sustainable. Obviously, where Restorative Farms comes in is we can help them grow more effectively and help bring their costs down. That's kind of our lane. But we've seen a lot of gardens start and not work because people put all their money into the infrastructure up front and not into the focusing on the grower and compensating or supporting and finding the way to support the grower who's going to be the champion. That's the key. In terms of Dallas School and other schools, once COVID lifts, collaboratively, I'd love to have some form of program where students can go to different farms and learn the different growing techniques and different styles and different career opportunities that are present. And we've been thinking about doing that. We've been hesitant to have people come on the farm, particularly the hydro farms, because when you're feeding 100 households a week, we can't afford to have contamination in there. So we have to find a safer way to bring people onto the farms. If you're a production farm, is difficult. So that's where we've got to limit the number of people and be very careful. But we're trying to, if people have models and suggestions for that, I'd love to hear it. That's something that we would love to help be part of a process if people are interested in forming a program like that.
Could you tell us, Owen, a little bit more about the job training program you mentioned, that the apprenticeship program?
So the apprenticeship program is, so according to, there's been some recent work from New York, especially, but based on New York's and Baltimore's viable farms. They say it takes a farmer 9 months to learn how to really become a grower, hands-on, working 40 hours a week. And it takes about that same amount of time for a new farm for the soil to work its way out to actually where it can become productive predictably. So what we're trying to do, and it's kind of like learning how to drive a car. You do need the more academic knowledge you have, in, for example, Gladys mentioned soil health and soil biology, and that is extremely useful. But then also hands-on experience is also useful. It's kind of like when you learn how to drive a car, right? That you learn by doing the 5,000 hours in the car. And so what we're doing is we're providing vocational opportunities for people to come work with us. We pay them, they work with us, and we track all the different tasks that they do daily. And so kind of like you do with an Uber driver, you know, what watering task have you done, track their excellence in that task and how many hours they've done in each task. The goal to get somebody up to 5,000 hours at excellent value across multiple areas needed to become an urban farmer, so they themselves can do it. Once they've graduated and they've showed interest in that, we can help them get their own farm through funding using that record. But really what we're hoping to do is they'll move into the apprentice farm, which is they'll manage the farm for themselves, and then we'll buy their product from them. That's how they become economically sustainable. So that we're buying product from them every week for much of the year at farmers markets rates, and then they make their living, so they don't have to get tied up in farm unless they have extra. They can go to farmers markets. They can do direct to one buyer, and then they can use that record of production and being able to convert that production into an asset economically to go then look for venture capital to start their own farms. There's many opportunities. Dallas' problem is not access to land. There's lots of lots that you can use to grow on. We've identified over 220 through DART alone that are willing to turn into gardens. It's not about land, it's about the expertise of knowing what to grow. What Dallas needs most of all are trained people like Gladys, interested people who are trained and learning how to become professional farmers, because that's how you get production. Or people empowered to grow better in their homes. Both of those two ways you'll get return on investment, in my opinion. So that's the goal, is to get professional growers growing professionally to the market, so that they can, because it's easy to grow something. It's not easy. But it's easy to grow like one crop, you can produce it and give it out, than it is to grow variety of crops and do spin agriculture and staggered growth, and stagger your seedlings so you have a new one coming in, taking a plant out when it's not successful, replacing it with the plant that as it's mid-growing, tracking every single square foot of your garden through spreadsheets. If you want to see training, actually, I can show you right this. This is our full crop plan. It starts, as you can see, I'm locked out for a second. Here's the activity that goes from the date the seedlings planted to the time it yields. We track all that data, and it goes all the way through the entire year. And we track the employees' progress in every single one of these sectors with the there versus the expected yields, actual versus real. And then we talk about what's happening and why. But I went to a farmers conference recently that some of the most successful urban sustainable farmers, both in aquaculture and in farmer, and without a hesitation, the thing that they all said was the most important tool for a successful farm, an Excel sheet, which you don't typically think of. But they said without an Excel sheet, staggering and tracking growth and planning, they would not have been viable. So I thought that was an interesting lesson. So I don't know if that helps people or not, but I found that to be interesting.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, people think sometimes have a false sense of, growing successfully, just, putting something in the ground. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of planning that's involved in it. What do y'all think about like the future of urban ag as far as things like vertical farm? You mentioned aquaculture, hydroponics, that kind of thing. You think more people need to go into training for that? You think, the hands-on training is better, or more formal education? What do y'all think about that?
I think people like Gladys who have that biology interest, but then also urban farming, are going to be the future in that. Certainly Christian, who's working with us right now, has a biology degree, but is working on a hydroponic farm. It's extremely high startup costs. So you're looking at, the system that we have right now would be about $250,000 to put in. And then, so the startup costs are extremely high. The energy costs are extremely high. The scale that you have to do it to get a return on investment is pretty big. However, if we can learn how to make it work and then learn how to replicate it cheaply, and then also then find training to be accessible, I think that there's a point where those two lines cross. And I think that, and I'm sure Bob would agree with me on this one, is that if you look at the variability in our climate across the world, but even in Dallas in this last year, there's going to need to be a basis of controlled environmental agriculture, and that might be much more simple than hydroponic. If we're going to have a sustainable system that can produce while the soil systems are struggling a farmer's fighting the climate all the time, as well as working with it. So there needs to be a component of it. However, people need to realize, kind of like a community garden, they need to realize what they're getting into and what it really costs. But yeah, the whole point of Growzilla, which we put it is to learn how to do it cheaply as possible. People are welcome to come and do apprentices there. We're going to start that plan up next year once COVID lifts, so that people can do apprenticeships, and it's a state-of-the-art system. Our partners at Big Tex in Port America helped us find it, and we really were looking for the best system we could find for this area to see if we can work out how to replicate it if it's successful. We're still working on it. We're a long way away, but it has a lot of promise. The food coming out of it and the speed at which it comes is remarkable. It's just remarkable. But it doesn't have the variety, and it costs a lot of money. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. With any new technology, there's a learning curve. And I think it's a great time for people to get involved now while it's, while it's people are learning about it. Well, we're about time. Anybody have any last minute questions? I know Priscilla asked Owen if you'd be willing to share your Excel sheet with us.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. I mean, everything I do. People can. I mean, I have to ask my partners, but I mean, I'm sure there'll be no problem. I share it to other nonprofits to help them plan. I'm also happy to help. I just did it for 2 other farms. Help them create a bespoke spreadsheet so that they can plan their year out, because an unplanned garden is going to grow weeds.
Yes. My background garden is my COVID garden, which was beautifully planned out, and I had all the time in the world in my garden this year. Not so beautiful.
It looks beautiful. And you did interplanting of carrots there, I see, with parsley.
Yeah. Carrots, always plant your carrots in the fall is what I've learned in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So someone put their and it looks like there's a recycling drive someone was talking about. So they put their information about recycling. I know we had someone who said, I think they're all the way from Kenya. So thank you, Betty, for joining us. I think you may be our furthest viewer for our Grow With Us program so far. Did you have anything you wanted to share real quick before we go about the food forest? That's a project I'm really excited about, and I think would be a great model for the rest of Dallas too, to have food forests.
You said you wanted to hear more about the food forest?
Yeah, like how is it going to work? Just like a brief. We're a little bit over time, but how many people would love to hear about it?
Yeah, totally. No, it's fine. I think people can stay on it if they want to. If they gotta go, they can go. But yeah, so the food forest, what we'd like to see is a natural forest that models nature. So we're not gonna try to do something over the top where we're growing things that don't work here in Texas, right? And having every layer growing something that works and growing in harmony. So there would be trees, there would be bushes, shrubs, and then you want something that can grow lower on the ground. So something like strawberries or something that that works with the soil and with the climate, like Owen was saying, here in Texas it's been crazy, and so something that could hold up and that can be useful for the people who are going to be eating it. So you don't want to grow something you want to grow something that people can consume. And then I think it's important to teach people or help people learn how to consume those foods in a way that isn't like frying something up, So we've heard about that from nutritionists that support projects like this, but they just don't want to see the food going and just being fried, so or turned into a super sweet pie or something like that. But that the food forest, so it would be like an area right now we're looking at a lot on Louisiana Avenue. We have a lot there owned by DART. So they have the station nearby, and we have the DART police station like right there. They would be neighbors for the garden. So we are for the food forest. So we're excited about having their collaboration with us and letting the community know that it's there. But we are still planning, and people are welcome to get involved. But we would like to have a walkway there. There's no sidewalk, so we would like to provide a sidewalk for people to be able to have more foot traffic, and just the area be accessible and be visible from oncoming traffic on that busy street. So we definitely want to have, like I said, fruit trees, berry trees. We went to I think it was Jeff Rosca. He has his A&M. I think it's A&M.
In AgriLife.
There you go. Yes, that's where I met Vanessa. And he had this food forest set up in the front. It was amazing, and he had his berry bushes there, and it was like people could just walk by and grab, harvest the berries there. So just something that isn't too complicated. We still have to work out irrigation and maintenance and all that. Like Owen said, it's a whole process. It doesn't just happen overnight, and you have to have a lot of planning. So that's what we're doing at the moment, and working with experts on that and people who do training, and they can train us so that we know what we have to do to keep those food forests flourishing once they're implemented, and so that the community can also learn and have opportunities for them to learn on site. Job training also, it would be amazing for the community and for the food forest, so that they can help with that and have the food growing, but still having those layers there is the goal. And yeah, just working with as many people as we can, so that they can help us learn what works and what doesn't, and what to avoid, and having, like you said, Vanessa, that opportunity to help kids and just community members learn what has been lost, I guess, by just this is time different, but having those educational opportunities and for that food forest in there. So
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of it is just raising awareness, people not knowing what's going on. Oh, and Betty is also at El Centro as a student. Yay!
Oh yes.
And let's see. Gosh, I think that's probably our time. We probably sit here and talk about this for hours. At least I know I can. It's something that's dear to my heart. I went to Duncanville High School, and when I was at Duncanville High School, there was not an Herb Act, but there's an agricultural program that they did away with. This was 20 years ago, and so yeah, I think it's something that we need to bring back in all levels of education, community education, school education, just everywhere. But thank you all so much for sharing. Thank you for sharing your story, Gladys, and what you're doing. And thank you for sharing about Restorative Farms and all of the apprenticeship and job opportunities and education there, Owen. And thank you for everyone for joining us today. So our next program will be about how to take care of your lawn in a sustainable fashion. Use when you have to have a lawn, although I've also proponent of people taking out their lawns and putting in food, but it's not practical for everyone. So learn how to do that. And then our next Earth Day Every Day is going to be covering some of the animal friends of the Dallas Zoo and how we can make a better world and a better environment for them too. All right. Well, thank you all so very, very much for joining us today and sharing. I guess everyone enjoy the slightly cooler weather today. It's a little humid out there, but it's slightly cooler. And I know my garden got a lot of good rain, so hopefully everyone's garden will have a little green up after this.
Yeah, that's the good thing about the rain. Oh.
I had a coworker ask me what it was in the rain that makes plants so much greener afterwards. And I was like, it's what's not in the rain that makes plants so much greener afterwards.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful day, and join us next Monday, hopefully.
Thank you for having us, Vanessa.
Thank you.